Hi, I'm Scott. It's cold here in Chicago, and this is the latest episode of the Decades of Action Challenge, a series which I am just one more video away from completing. I have been watching films and making videos about the movies written about by Tom Breihan for his series A History of Violence for avclub.com. The most important action movie of each year, starting with 1968. Moving forward to 2017, and 2017's movie is Wolf Warrior 2, which I've never heard of, never seen before, and of course I guessed wrong, because I thought it might be Baby Driver, Atomic Blonde, or maybe John Wick 2, but no, not any of those. It's Wolf Warrior 2, so I'll be making a video on that next week. Breihan's posting his essay on that in January, so I'll have my video up before him. Before his thing on. So I'll just be talking about what I think of it rather than what he thought of it. But I have plenty to say about the movie that I watched for this week's video, which is Cheang Pou-soi 2, aka Killzone 2, aka SPL 2. It is called all these things in one place or another. Basically, this is a sequel in name only to Cheang Pou-soi, aka Killzone, which was Breihan's pick for 2005. Got a couple of the same actors in it, but they're playing different parts. The story is completely different, completely unrelated to the first Killzone, aka Cheang Pou-soi. But it is full of amazing fights, The little beef that I had with the first movie in this series, the Donnie film, is that most of the fights felt kind of perfunctory and just basically killing time until the big finish at the end, in which Donnie Yen takes on first Sammo Hung's henchman with a big knife, and then takes on Sammo Hung himself. It was all sort of leading up to that. The plot was fairly complicated, but the fights themselves seemed like, just killing time. Not so with this one. I love this movie. I thought it was really great. It stars Tony Jaa, who's famous for Ong Bak and The Protector, and also had a small part in Fast and Furious 7. The movie was directed by a guy named Cheang Pou-soi, or he's just credited as Soi Chiang in the movie, so I'm not sure which way around his name is supposed to be. He is the director of a bunch of movies, including Monkey King 1 and 2, which I've never heard of, never seen, and I'm not really familiar with any of his other movies, too. There's also a separate director credited as action director. Presumably he not only choreographed and directed, but also directed the fight scenes in the movie. His name is Li Chung Chi. And he did an amazing job. There are fantastic fights in this movie, but let me get into the plot a little bit first. Simon Yam is one of the stars of Cheang Pou-soi, the first one, and he's playing a different character in this one. He's basically playing a cop. Basically, is looking to bust a organ trafficker, and he is and his nephew basically is undercover. Working within the gang itself, basically trying to get evidence and everything like that. And then Tony Jaa's character, he is playing a prison guard in Thailand. The two cops, basically, Simon Yam and Wu Jing, who are the two cops, they're basically working in Hong Kong. But Thailand is where all the action is, really. Literally and figuratively. Tony Jaa is a prison guard, basically, in Thailand. And the warden is played by Zhang Jin, and he's a very, very evil guy. And he's working for a crime boss who's played by Louis Koo. I got that right? I've been basically copying these names down from Wikipedia, so I hope I'm getting them right. And they basically kidnap people. They keep them alive with drugs and saline, and they harvest their organs, their livers, their hearts, whatever. And this crime boss, he's got a bad heart, and he's had one for years, and he's got a very, very, very rare blood type, and so the only person who can donate a heart to him is his own brother. So he's scheming to basically kidnap his brother and put him under and take his heart. Meanwhile, Tony Jaa has a daughter who also has a severe medical problem. She needs a bone marrow transplant. As it turns out, the only viable donor is the cop who's undercover working in the gang that's trafficking organs. So the warden is working for the crime boss. He basically keeps their victims in a cell in the prison, and before they can have their surgery and steal their organs and then die. And so he's struggling with, how to do this, and the warden's telling him, hey, you do right by me, you make good, and I'll make sure that your daughter gets what she needs, because I know she's sick, I know she needs that bone marrow. So he's conflicted about that. Meanwhile, the undercover cop, he gets discovered for being the cop, and he gets thrown into this same prison, and so he's locked up in there, and he has no way of contacting his uncle or any of the other cops, and things look very, very bad for him, and Tony Jaa's got to figure out whether or not to help him get out. The uncle's working his end. He is trying to do what he can, but he actually meets the crime boss who needs the heart replacement, and the crime boss flat out tells him, hey, I've got your nephew, and I need you to get my brother for me, because I know he's in police custody right now. You need to get him so I can get his heart, and I'll give you your nephew back. What do you say? So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff, complicated stuff's going down. I had a little trouble following what was happening at first, but eventually I caught on. Yeah, there's some incredible action in this movie. There's a scene in which the undercover cop, who's played by Wu Jing, he manages to get his hand on one of the guard's cell phones and tries to make a call to his uncle. And the guards are chasing him all over the place and trying to get the phone back from him. Meanwhile, there's a prison riot breaking out, and the warden turns out to be a excellent, very, very deadly fighter, and he joins in on the action, starts kicking a bunch of butt. It's an incredible scene, but that's just one fight among many in this movie. Some of the other people in this movie, we've got Jun King. He's the crime boss's brother. He's got the heart that the crime boss needs. Ken Lo is another prison guard, works with Tony Jaa. He gets in basically on the action, helps out with the fighting and what have you. The daughter is played by Unda Kunteera Yhordchanng. That's a really long name for a little girl. Anyway, she's basically, she gets involved, basically, a lot of shenanigans involving cell phones and text and misplaced phones, trying to get in touch with the donor, who turns out to be this cop. It all gets really, really complicated, but the action is amazing. I really enjoyed it a lot. Really, really like this movie. Yeah, not much to say on that. Like I said, never really seen this movie before. It was the first time watching it, but it was great. Really, really incredible fighting in this movie, and some vehicular mayhem, but mostly it's fighting. Mostly it's martial arts. So if you're a martial arts fan, I would highly recommend this one. Highly recommend it. It's really fantastic. And that's really all I've got to say in the matter. It's really good time. So Wolf Warrior 2, that's the next one. Wolf Warrior 2, that's what I've got to see next. So I'm going to find a copy of that and check it out and have a video next week, and I'll probably do a summary, maybe in that video, maybe in a video after that, I'm not sure, but once I've knocked off that movie, I'll be finished with the whole series, 50 movies over the course of this year. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more videos in which I speak maybe more eloquently and knowledgeably about some of these other movies, the link to the playlist is below, as is my Facebook page. Of course, I'm also linking Breihan's essay on the film. What do you have to say about it? Mostly just, that the fights are incredible. Yes, they're just amazing, amazing fights. All the guys that did the fighting in this movie, they're all talented. I wholeheartedly agree. They're incredible. It's a really, really fun fighting movie to check out. So yeah, that's it really. So yeah, see you next week. See you Friday. But before then, I'll probably have a video on The Last Jedi, because I'm seeing that tomorrow. And so I'll try and make a video on that the next couple days, let you know what I think of that as well, of course. Haven't really talked about lots of new movies this year, because I've been focused on this series, I have lots of stuff to see, and that interferes with my ability to take time to make videos. Sorry about that. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and I will see you next week, of course, with Wolf Warrior 2. I don't know. We'll check it out now. Later.